Rugby World Rankings. After the Pumas' big victory over the All Blacks, Wales' run of losses continuing to go on. There's a little bit of movement. I'll go over these main movers and shakers, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on how accurate or not so you think the rankings are. The rankings obviously are pretty big news over here in New Zealand, mostly because New Zealand's dropped to third, which is not a spot the All Blacks often find themselves in. And it's, I believe, the lowest the All Blacks have ever been. Equal, it's not like it's the first time. Some of the media coverage over here would have you believe the All Blacks have never been third before. But anyway. So the Springboks are still sitting pretty miles ahead of everybody else. 94.20. I know there's been a fair bit of mud flinging at the Springboks recently in terms of saying, you know, we need all the match preparation before we can participate in the Rugby Championship. And then people are using the Pumas example of saying, well, they did okay without it. I can see the argument why they didn't go, man. And I can now see the argument for why a bit of extra rest is a good thing, but I don't know. But yeah, South Africa is essentially still the top dog in the Rugby World Rankings, and that ain't going to change for quite a long time. England are up into second. You might think it's on the back of the Georgia result. Well, because they didn't lose, they didn't drop. But they didn't actually gain any points here. Because they beat Georgia, who are so far below them, there was no change. England were already on 88.42. But because there's such a gulf between the sides, England didn't get anything from that win. Georgia didn't lose anything from that loss. It's kind of a points exchange system, but it only works when you're within a certain margin of each other. However, because the All Blacks lost to the Pumas, who were like down in 10th, their drop has been a bit more drastic. They were on 90.17, now they dropped down to 88.17. So, yeah, it's a pretty big drop for the All Blacks to lose to the Pumas. So, yeah, pressure is definitely on Ian Foster. We were third, I think, after the loss to England in the World Cup, after the semi-final. All Blacks dropped to third, and then because the All Blacks won that third place game against Wales, they jumped back up into second. So after the World Cup, it finished South Africa, New Zealand, England, and Wales. That's generally just the way World Cups go. You end up the semi-finalists will be the top four. The winner's going to be the top one, and the third place team is probably going to be second, because you double your points for winning and losing those games. So yeah, it's back to the two World Cup finalists in first and second. There's still a bit of a cushion between the All Blacks and France, 84 and 88, but the All Blacks wouldn't be wanting to drop any more spots. They've only got one more game this year, so they could drop another couple of points. But when was the last time the All Blacks lost 3 in a row? Anyway, France didn't get to play against Fiji at the weekend because of some COVID cases in the Fiji camp, so they stay there in fourth. Ireland did get their win over Wales, so they are up, but not in the positions. They're up from 84.10, 84.57, so it's bumping them up, but no positional changes. The Wallabies, remember they didn't play last week, but they did beat the All Blacks the week before. They were up from 82.19 to 83.86, so beating the All Blacks tends to bring you up, but not quite enough to pass Ireland. Scotland is still on the right side of the board, by which I mean the left side, the good side. The top 7 side, with their victory in the Autumn Nations Cup over Italy, they beat them, so they go up, but not much. 82.28 from 82.08. So, yeah, that's the top 7 countries in the world. For the rest of them, Argentina is definitely the biggest mover from 10th. They were in the 70s, now they're up in the 80s. They passed Wales. Wales is on a heck of a bad run. I'm not sure who's under more pressure. Ian's lost 2, drawn 1, and won a couple. Whereas Wayne Pivac, I think he's had 6 losses in a row. Yeah. People have been comparing it to, if you follow football, like David Moyes when he took over from Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. Anyway, it's not been pretty. But Wales have got Georgia this week. And they may actually be close enough to Georgia to actually take some points from this on the World Rankings scale. Generally, if there's so much of a gap, you don't get anything. So that's a sad new reality for Wales, but another week to turn it around. They're down from 80.22. Japan hasn't played, but they dropped because Argentina's passed them. Fiji, same, no games. Georgia, like I mentioned, didn't change. Tonga hasn't played either. And Italy is down there in 14th. They did drop from 71.08 to 70.88 with their match against Scotland. But, yeah, that's just one of the quirks of the World Rankings. It's just a big old pity that that Georgia and Italy don't get to play each other. But yeah, essentially that's how the top 14 countries in the world are looking. Obviously the World Rankings go beyond this, but the majority of the countries that have been playing, not all, but are these ones here. Do you guys reckon South Africa is good value still for that top spot? England's win over Georgia was a pretty ugly one, but it was in pretty trying conditions, and Eddie Jones may have essentially been using that as kind of a hit out for his guys in preparation for this week's game. The All Blacks are down into third, as I mentioned. I think they've been in third. This will be the third time. So they're usually in first, not for a while now, and now they're in third. So we'll see. France didn't get a game. I don't know. Anyone do you think is particularly underrated? Generally, it's Argentina and Italy on the World Rankings that get the short end of the stick because they have generally, a tougher time beating the other teams in their competitions, the Six Nations and the Rugby Championship. But Argentina got the job done anyway. So, yeah. You guys let me know what your thoughts are on these rankings. Couldn't find a Pumas jersey for sale from Argentina at the moment. They've still only got Jaguares gear and some old World Cup gear. Anyway, we'll see. You guys have any thoughts? And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.